So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining the session. We have Ratnesh and Randhir who is going to deliver this, and I'll hand over to Randhir and Ratnesh to start with the introduction, followed by their contents. And if you have any question in mid of the session, you can raise hand, and we'll take the question accordingly. And at the end of the session, we'll have 10 to 15 minutes where we can discuss whatever query you have. So Randhir, you can take over.
Yeah, thank you, Pranay. Thanks a lot. And hello and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you enjoy your day.
I think
And
you're not
I
audible.
think I'm
I
not
can
audible.
hear Randhir.
No, it's good. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you, Randhir. Not sure if you can hear me.
I can hear you
Okay, cool.
clearly. Shall we start? The other folk, if you are able to hear me, just send a message over the chat. If you can hear me,
Yeah,
then I can
yeah,
start.
Randhir.
Okay. So let's begin from here, if you are able to hear me. So I hope you had a good lunch today as well. And it is a pleasure to have you with us for this webinar. So over the next 1 hour, we are going to explore how we are going to streamline the VM provisioning and customize the build cost. Whether you are experienced IT person or you are new, you are going to get something in this webinar. So sit back, relax, and get ready to uncover some valuable insight that you can take it with you. Without further delay, let's kick off this seminar. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Randhir Chaubey. I am a part of the VMware Professional Services India, and I have been working with the VMware for about 1.5 years now. And I'm focusing on the multi-cloud solutioning, including the Aria Automation, VCF, SRM, vCenter, and other more technology in VMware. I come with total 15 years of experience in IT industries. Before joining the VMware, I had the opportunity to work with the companies like IBM, HP, SCL, and some few more names. I also working with the Aria Automation for more than 7 years. And during this time, I had the chance to work with more than 50 projects. And I have designed a solution and tackle the automation challenges as well. Not only for the Aria Automation, additionally, I have been involved in design migration project in the multi-cloud space, dealing with the complex different cloud platform and designing for the customer as well. And today, really, I'm very happy to be here with my colleague Ratnesh, who is working with me in VMware, and we work together in the PSO services. So over to you, Ratnesh. Introduce yourself.
Thanks, Randhir, and thanks everyone for joining this session. My name is Ratnesh Kumar. I'm working as a senior consultant with VMware PSO. It's been almost 6 years I'm working with VMware, and in total I have approx 13 years of experience. Prior to VMware, I have worked with companies like HCL Technologies, CSC, and Accenture Services. My expertise are like multi-cloud, SDDC, ARIA suite of products, SRMs, SaltStack, and etc. I have designed and delivered more than 20 projects based on ARIA suite of products, multi-cloud, SDDC, SRM, and other VMware products. Today is mentioned by my colleague Randhir. In our session, we are thrilled to share insight about the power of the ARIA automation, right, and how it empowers organization to effectively manage multi-cloud environments. The journey of automation and the cloud management is an existing one, and we are going to look forward and explore all these possibility for you. Thanks, Randhir. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ratnesh, for your introduction. So let me move on the next slide. So this is a disclaimer from the our side, like whatever we are going to discuss here might be some feature is in development and some is already developed. So we are not going to commit here. If it is development, then you have to wait for the development. We don't have any timeline and anything. So just go for the disclaimer. This is a basic disclaimer before we initiate our webinar today. So let me move on the next slide and let me set up the agenda for this webinar. So this is the agenda for today's webinar. We are going to talk about the siloed architecture with the manual provisioning. So we are going to dig deep into details of what is the siloed architecture, and we are going to explore the implication of manual provisioning, and also we are going to discuss about challenges and problems. If you have a multi-cloud environment and you are doing the manual provisioning, what kind of problem and challenges you are facing and the enterprise face inside the industries. Next, we are going to discuss about the use cases. In this case, we will explore the specific use cases that we identified as a primary candidate for the automation. And based on these use cases, we are trying to help enterprise to increase their ROI from the IT. Sorry. Next, we are going to talk about architecture of the Aria suite for the multi-cloud management. We will take a closer, we will take a closer look at the design, which help us to reach out the automation. That's we are going to deep inside how architecture looks like. Next, we are going to talk about the provisioning automation using the Aria automation. So how provisioning helps and how we are going to use the automation to do the provisioning end to end. That's we are going to deep inside, and my colleague Ratnesh, he will be take you inside. So you will be get view about how automation works. The similar way we are going to talk about deep provisioning, and this is one of the major challenge nowadays for all the enterprises to perform this activity inside the multi-cloud environment. And there's a lot of error prone doing the deep provisioning in the multi-cloud. And then we are going to talk about the business objective and what is the outcomes from this objective and how we are helping the enterprise to come up with the automation. And then we are going to have a demo. So I am going to give you the high level glance about how request forms looks like and how it is going to help the customer to deploy the VM across the multi-cloud using the single catalog. So I know we have the mixed crowd here, like some people work in past VRA7 and previous version. So where we had the multiple catalog to manage during the deployment of the multi-cloud environment. So now we will come up with the one catalog, and through the one catalog, individual can deploy the VM in any cloud provider. And then we will open the session for the Q&A. If you have any question and if you have any doubt and you want to know how we set up this multi-cloud and how it is going to help the enterprise in future, and you have any use cases where you want to discuss whether it is going to accommodate in this multi-cloud solutioning or not. So we are happy to answer all the questions here. So quickly, let me move on the next slide. Yep. So this is the first slide where we are going to talk about the siloed architecture with the manual provisioning. As we all know, the multi-cloud has become a popular trend in recent years. Okay, it's allowing to take the advantage of the feature and capability of the cloud providers. Like every cloud provider, they have a unique features and they have a unique services as well. So nowadays, enterprise has the multi-cloud environment. I believe the most of enterprise, they have Azure, Google, and AWS, and as well as the on-premises. But what is happening? The enterprise, they are deploying the VM. They are deploying the VM in the, I will just take it the one of the example for the Azure. So they have to log in on the Azure portal and they have to deploy the VM. And it is taking a lot of time and it is a time consumable as well. Okay, and there's a lot of error, manual error and human error as well. So this is one of the problem and build lifecycle is getting increased. So enterprise, they have the multi-cloud to get the more ROI, but because of the siloed architecture and manual provisioning is taking a lot of time, and build lifecycle as manual provisioning take longer time to complete. I will explain you guys more inside how it is taking longer time and how we are going to emulate this longer time and using our Aria automation. So today I would like to talk about the workload deployment in multi-cloud and how it going to be help to enterprise using the automation. So if you know that traditionally when requester want to deploy the one of the VM in, I will just take it the one of the example here like Azure, the requester want to deploy the one of the VM on the Azure. So he has to be create either ticket or send a mail to the cloud management team. Hey, I want to deploy the one of the VM there. So cloud management team, they will take the request and they will check whether this requester has access on the Azure or not, whether he has right resource is there or not. So they will check a lot of things. Okay, and then once they will satisfied, yes, everything is there, and they will sometimes they will ask for the approval. Like some enterprise, they have approval policy and governance, and they will ask whether you have to take the approval from your first line manager and your finance team or not. So it's taking a lot of time to come up with this stage. It's taking almost 2 and 3 days. Like sometime cloud management team person is not available and sometimes customer is not available and there is some delay to respond their email or incident ticket. So even though not only for this one we automated, but also once the IT team, they got everything from their side. Okay. So they want to have to deploy the VM. So what is happening, you know, that after deployment, suppose I'm the IT person, I said, okay, you have all the things in place. Now let me go and deploy the VM in the one of the cloud. So I have to log in inside inside the Azure and in any respective uh, hyperscaler. Okay. Then I have to deploy the VM. What is happening after the deployment? So after deployment, the cloud management team has to be work with the other tool team and other team to get the things done for the VM. Like I will say, I will say like after deployment, VM has to be joined in the Active Directory and VM has to be moved in the particular OU. Then VM has to be patched properly as per the company policy. VM has to be has compliant, and you have to ask compliance team to run the compliant report and you have to remediate the vulnerability whatever coming there. So every cloud and every organizer, they have a CIS benchmark. Okay, so you have to make sure your VM has to be deployed and compliant as per the CIS benchmark. Those processes taking a lot of time to complete the activity and handing over the server to the customer. So in this case, what is happening? The enterprise, they are not getting the actual ROI which they are looking for. And there are a lot of errors while deploying the VM over there. Sometimes customer requested for the AWS and the cloud management team by mistake they are deploying the VM in Azure. So there are a lot of error as well. So this process is taking a lot of time and it's time consuming process and it's taking a lot of effort here, even though. However, we improve the process and how we are going to improve the process, we are going to improve the process to the Aria Automation. So we have a self-service portal from the Aria Automation. Customer can create the workload provisioning request directly from the portal by the filling the form. Like I said, the earlier customer has to be fill the form in the service now, and he has to be facilitate all the information, and the information is going to the cloud management team. But using the Aria Automation and integrating the Aria Automation with the service now, so customer has to be fill the form himself and herself. It will not go to any cloud management team. Okay, so customer itself, himself and herself can deploy the VM. He has just to fill the form, and we can facilitate the form. Like customer has to be type the deployment name and the VM size, operating system, application type, and which VNet he want, which location he want to deploy, which subscription either if he want to deploy on Azure, so he can select the subscription. If he want to deploy on AWS, then he can select the account and so forth. So I will give you the demo how form looks like and how customer is going to facilitate this form, and using this form, how he is going to deploy the VM in respective hyperscaler. Once the customer submit the form, what is happening? The earlier, if you see when customer submit the form, then it will go to the cloud management team, and then everything looks good from the cloud management team. Then they will go and deploy the VM, and then they will work with the tool team and compliance team and get the things done. And it's taking a lot of time. So what is happening using the automation? So there is a call the no IT. You no need to IT in background. So once customer submit the form, based on the form, VM will get deployed in the respective hyperscaler. And once VM will get deployed the hyperscaler, we have a workflow. We create the workflow in background. So VM will get automatic join to the Active Directory. And based on the VM nature, like if VM has a Windows 90 and 22, so based on the use case, VM will move in the particular OU. You no need to talk to your Active Directory team. It will be go and sit there wherever he want and as per the use cases. And then after what is going to happen? So once VM will get joined the domain, then compliance scan will get triggered. So what is happening in background? So we automated all the tool. We integrate all the third-party tool. So like you're using the 10EM, Qualys, whatever. So what is going to happen? So this tool is going to get triggered, and during the time VM is get scanned. Like during the scan time, our tool will identify like the VM is not up to the mark and it is not fully patched. What is going to happen? It's going to talk to the 10EM, get the download all the patches, missing patch, and deploy the patches inside the VM. So there's no required, you no need to go back to the patching team and ask, please patch my server. There's no requirement. And then after what is going to happen? Like you
एक बिल्डर है अलग से
यूटिलिटी बिलिंग का प्लेटफॉर्म आता है, ओरेकल का बना बनाया सूट है
Sahil,
और यूटिलिटी
can
Sahil, I
go
think you're
on
not on
place.
mute.
All right, Sahil, thank you. So suppose patching is done. So what is the next? Suppose definitely before putting the server in production, you have to make the server compliant, correct? So earlier what was happening? Earlier you have to go back to compliance team and ask compliance team, please scan the server, and then compliance team will give you report, and then you will see the report. Yes, there are the couple of vulnerability, you have to fix it. Then you can call to your IT team to fix it, and then again you have to call to the compliance team to scan the server, because you have to put the server compliant inside the production. So here you no need to go back to the compliant team or any team. We have a workflow where it will go and scan your server through the, we have one of the tool is called the SaltStack. So SaltStack itself, it will go to inside your server and it will scan the server and see whether there's any compliant report or not. If server is not compliant, it will say what is the vulnerability is there, what is the compliance is there. Okay, so it will itself remediate. There is no need to IT team again. So itself remediate, and then it will put the full compliant server. It will give you the flag, like green flag is the server is compliant, and you will get the report, and who is the owner for the server, he will get the report. Okay, not only for the compliant, but also from the antivirus tool. Okay, you no need to go with back to the antivirus team and say, please put this server in the antivirus console. We have a workflow and we have an automation. It will automatically go and register your server inside the antivirus tool, whatever antivirus you are using, McAfee and CloudStack, whatever. So then backup. Yes, we support the backup as well, and we automate the backup as well. Like I will show you over the form, like during the deployment, if you feel like this server has to be go, like production server has to be go in the backup, then you have to just, user has to just click, yes, he need the backup. So this service will go and add inside the backup, and as per the schedule, if you have a multiple schedule, then customer can see the schedule, what schedule he want to put this server for the backup, whether full backup and incremental backup, whatever. So it can be achieved day one and at day two as well. So this is all over siloed architecture, and our automation is going to help the customer. So doing this kind of activity, we saw in the past in the couple of enterprise, and what we achieved so far. So when we talk to the customer, they are saying it is taking almost week and week time to complete the entire life cycle, from getting the request from the customer and delivering the VM to the customer. It's taking almost 7 to 8 days. This is a huge time if we are talking about the multi-cloud era. Okay, and it is a very longer time. So we come up with this one, and using this platform, we reduce the time from 8 days to 8 hours so far. So this is automation magic we made for the customer so far, and definitely it will boost the build efficiency and optimize the build cost as well. So that is what we have given the customer, enterprise customer, through this platform. And we are trying to reduce the siloed architecture, and we are trying to combine everything and doing the automated process for the enterprise. So let me move on the next slide, how we achieve this one ROI. Just I said, like 8 days to 8 hours, how we did it, and what kind of use cases we use for enterprise. So I have taken the couple of use cases, okay, but there's a lot of more use cases based on the customer request, but those are the golden and more popular use cases, and using those use cases, we reduce the time almost 75%. So let me move on the next slide. This is a use cases. If you see, so this is a this is a primary use cases and more advanced and custom use cases which we develop for the enterprise. And if you see the first use cases, uh, Aria Automation integration with the service now. So enterprise came to us and saying, boss, we don't want to have a two unified portal for the customer because they will get confused. They are not IT person and they don't want to log in on the two portal. And they are not technical. So we understood their situation and their pain area. So we come up with the ServiceNow and any ITSM tool, not only for the ServiceNow, but other ITSM tool like IBM's broker and whatever the compatible with our solutioning, we are ready to integrate. Okay, so this is, so we have given the ServiceNow. That's one of the example most popular ITSM tool. So customer can log in inside the ServiceNow. He no need to go and log in inside the Aria Automation. So the next slide, we are going to deep inside how it looks like an architecture overview as well. So you people will come to know how ServiceNow and Aria Automation works together. So this is one of the use case. Apart from the use cases which I want to highlight, like Active Directory and OU movement, just before I talk about like after deployment, how Active Directory and OU movement is going to happen automatically. There's no need to ask Active Directory team to put the server in a particular OU. And not only for the Active Directory, but also for the IPM and DNS record, you no need to identify and you no need to record your DNS over the Excel sheet. We have our internal IPM automation, Aria Automation, and but also if you have a third-party IPM like Infoblox and other IPM tool, so we integrate inside our solutioning and it works fine. Not only for the IPAM and Active Directory, but I have a couple of silver line use cases which I want to talk to you today. So this is a automatic patching. This is one of the use cases where enterprise they were struggling. Okay, because always they have to go back to the patching team and ask patching team to do the server patching, and there's a lot of communication gap between the patching team. Sometimes enterprise give the downtime 6 o'clock and patching team does the patching in 4 o'clock and some other time where the production will get impact. So we automated the patching not only for the day one, but also for the day two as well. So user himself and herself can do the patching whenever they require on demand. Not only for the patching, but also for the vulnerability scan and remediation, compliance scan. So this is one of the pain area which we came with along with the enterprise. Like they come up with us and they're saying this activity is taking a lot of time for us, not only for the day one, but also for the day two. Sometimes server in the production and we are getting the alert from the compliance team and your server is not compliant. Okay, so fixing the compliance report is taking a lot of time and this is a challenge for the enterprise. So we come up with the solutioning like SaltStack, and where you no need to worry about it. Okay, our tool will go and scan your server, and based on the report, it will be remediated. So there's no need, and based on the UCIS benchmark, whatever benchmark you set up inside your organization, we create same benchmark inside our tool Salt, and it will go and automatically scan and remediate. Not only for the day one, but we come up with the enterprise. They are talking about the day two and for the decommissioning as well. Okay, so enterprise came to us and saying decommissioning one of the challenge, and really it is a challenge for across the enterprise. Okay, so what is happening when customer face the request for a decommissioning? So similar way like provisioning, the manual provisioning taking time. Similar way the manual deprovisioning taking a lot of time, and they are the error prone as well. Okay, so like when customer requests for the decommission, then again, it will go to the IT team and they will do their activity and ask for the tool team to baseline software team to remove the software and remove the server from baseline software. And it's taking a lot of time, and sometimes they are doing the mistake. They have to delete the server A, so they are deleting server B from the baseline software for the license. And one of the enterprise came to us and saying, we are worried about the license because you know that the Qualys, Tenium, and there are other more tool, they have a license base. So what is the process to get the license free when we are going when we are going to decommission the server? So we understand their problem. We come up with the solution. So whenever they are doing the decommissioning, even though the decommissioning can be done by the user itself and herself, there's no need to IT again. Okay, so once he will request the initiate the decommission, so we have a workflow and we have an automation in background. It will delete the server. It will remove the all tool from the server. Not only removing the tool from the server, but also it will go and delete the entry from the baseline console. Like I will just give you the example for like McAfee, Tenium, Qualys, and so forth. They have the console and you have to register the VM there and get the license. So it will release the license for the next deployment. This is the major use cases for the decommissioning, which we achieved in past. And there are the other use cases as well. If you see the Salt Master, Salt Minion. So suppose today you are going to adopt the automation, but what about your previous and existing workload? How you are going to automate your manual deployed VM inside the automation? Because today you are going to give the automation to your end user. So end user has to be manage their previous VM and existing VM and do the automation as well. So yes, right. So yes, we have option, like we have a Salt again, and we have to install the Salt minion on your existing VM. So once we onboard the VM inside the Aria automation, okay, so who are the owner for those VMs? They can see their VM inside the Aria automation, and they can manage the VM through the Aria automation, and they can do all the day-to-day activity like adding the disk, deleting the disk, doing the remediation, doing the patching, and so forth. So all the workload, whatever workload you have, like previous workload and the new workload which you are going to use to the automation tool, can manage through the Aria automation and SaltStack. So let me move on the next slide. So this is the architecture design for the Aria automation, which we did for the couple of customers in past. So I would like to invite my colleague Ratnesh. So he will take it from here. Please, Ratnesh, take it from here.
Sure. Thanks, Randhir. So, hello everyone, Ratnesh again. So, as you can see, this is the architecture design for this particular use case, Aria Automation Multi-Cloud Management, right? So here, if you look at any enterprise customer, maybe they already have some sort of tool. Here, customer is saying that I already have the ServiceNow subscription, right? So I want to leverage that particular investment along with your tool integration, right? I don't want to maintain two separate portals for the end user, and I don't want to create any kind of duplicacy for end users, right? So here, if you look at from the end user perspective, the portal is basically the ITSM portal. Whatever day 0, day 1, or day 2 operation, he just need to log in into this ServiceNow portal, right? And the ServiceNow portal is further integrated with the Aria automation, right? And here the Aria automation is not the on-premises deployment. The whole suite of Aria is basically the SaaS-based implementation here, right? So whether it's Aria automation, operations manager, login site, and SaltStack, this is everything SaaS-based subscription. And since this is the SaaS-based subscription, users doesn't need to manage it and perform any upgrade or the lifecycle management of these products. It's VMware who is going to on those upgrades and lifecycle of these products, right? Here, if you look at, we have Google Cloud accounts, we have AWS Cloud account, we have Azure, and the on-premises vSphere. So all these cloud accounts are further integrated with the Aria automation, right? Along with these cloud account integration, we have done integration with SaltStack, SCCM, Cloud Proxy, Extensibility Proxy. And you must be wondering why Cloud Proxy, why Extensibility Proxy, right? Since this is the SaaS-based Aria automation, and if you want to integrate with your on-premises vSphere, so these components are required here, right? The Cloud Proxy and the Extensibility Proxy are required. Then we have integration with identity manager, and the identity manager is further integrated with the enterprise active directory for the authentication and authorization purpose. We have integration with IPAM for the IP management. And the other tools integration, these are the third-party tools, security compliance framework tool, like Randhir was talking about, like, right? Qualys is there, SCCM is there, Tanium is there for your security compliance region. So we have done all those integration end to end, right? And now we will talk about how these integration is working in a flow while provisioning the virtual machine or deprovisioning the virtual machine, right? How is the flow designed here? Yeah, Randhir, please move on to the next slide. Thanks. Okay, so this is the provisioning flow of the overall automation. So from the user perspective, this is my user, and he just need to log in into the ITSM portal, right? Once he log in into the ITSM portal, he will be able to see the catalog item which he has entitled, right? He just need to click on that particular catalog item, and then he will be able to see a form wherein he need to supply all the required input parameters. The input parameters are like on which cloud he wants to deploy the virtual machine, whether it's a public cloud like AWS, Google, Azure, or on a vSphere environment, right? He need to select what operating system he wants to deploy. He need to select the type of kind of tiering, whether it's a prod VM, test VM, dev VM, what kind of VM it is, right? Then he can also select the size of the virtual machine. So he will have a list of all these t-shirt size, I would say, right? Wherein he can go ahead and select the size. He can also select on what particular subscription of the, let's say, of Azure subscription he wants to provision the virtual machine, right? So all these input parameter needs to be selected by the customer, and then he will by the end user, and then he will submit the request. Once the request gets submitted, it will go for the approval. For the approval, there are some parameters. Based on certain parameters, request will go to the different person or different stakeholders, right? Once request gets approved, VRA will go ahead and start compute allocation, right? It will check whether the backend, whether it's vSphere or any public cloud endpoint, have the required capacity available or not. Once the compute allocation gets completed, one VRO workflow gets triggered, which will generate a custom hostname for the virtual machine. When we say custom hostname, it's up to us how we want to structure a custom hostname, right? So you can have combination of like your company name, then you can select, you can have some internal organization structure like project name, cost center name. You can specify your operating system as well over there. So it's up to us how we want to structure it, right? Then the provisioning gets started, and the virtual machine gets created to the corresponding cloud account based on our input parameters. So let's say we have selected Azure as part of our input parameters, then my machine will be provisioned into the Azure endpoint. If I have selected vSphere, then machine will be created inside the vSphere endpoint, right? So here my machine is created. The next one, it is going to initiate post provisioning task, where it is going to install the Salt minion agent inside the virtual machine. Once it is installed, it will go ahead and perform the directory and the toolset integration. When I say directory and toolset integration, what I mean to say is that it is going to install the agent inside the virtual machine, perform the configuration at the agent level, right? And do assign the correct licenses to the particular virtual machine. Then SaltStack will kick in, and it is going to join the virtual machine to the AD. It will move the VM to the correct OU so that the correct organization or the Active Directory policy can be applied to the virtual machine or the operating system, I would say. Once it is done, it is going to remediate. It is going to scan the virtual machine. It is going to check whether all the patches are there installed inside the virtual machine or not. If it is not, it is going to install those missing patches. Once patching gets completed, it is going to scan in terms of security scan, right? It is going to scan the operating system and it will check all those security compliance are in place. If it is not, it is going to remediate them automatically. Once it's this VA remediation gets completed, the next step, it is going to configure the backup for the virtual machine. It is again conditional. If user has selected backup required yes while filling the form, then it is going to configure the backup. If user has, the end user hasn't selected yes, I don't need this, no, I don't need the backup, then this task will be skipped. And then the deployment gets completed and the end user will get an email with all the details, the virtual machine IP address and the other details like sizing and everything, and the flow gets completed here. Let's say if this request gets rejected here during the approval process, right, at the approval stage, once it is rejected, nothing will happen, no further workflow gets executed, and the flow gets completed here without any action. Yeah, let's move on to the decommissioning flow. All right. So similar to the provisioning flow, we have the decommissioning flow, wherein again end user will log in into the ITSM portal. He or she will be able to see all the deployment he owns, right? And then he need to select that particular deployment which needs to be deleted. As an optional action, what he can do before deleting the virtual machine, he can select, he can perform the final backup for that particular virtual machine. And why this is important, let's say he is deleting the virtual machine, right? But later on, he is saying that, oh, I need to restore the virtual machine, right? So if he performed the backup at this stage, that means the latest backup is available for him so that he can go ahead and restore the virtual machine. Once backup gets completed, he will go ahead and submit the decommissioning request. Again, it will go for the approval. If it is approved, the VM will be marked to be deleted only after 7 days. So the VM is not going to delete it immediately. This is this has been done intentionally based on the customer requirement, right? So it will wait for the next 7 days. And within 7 days, user have option. If he want to retain the virtual machine, right, he can go ahead and power on the virtual machine. That way his virtual machine will not be deleted and he will be able to retain the virtual machine. If within 7 days he is not going to retain the virtual machine and no action taken, then the VM deletion process gets initiated and VRA will start executing decommissioning workflows. The decommissioning workflows are like, first it will go ahead and uninstall the agent from inside from the operating system of the VM, right? It will release all those licenses which has been assigned to this particular virtual machine so that those licenses can be leveraged for the future provisioning, right? Once these cleanup gets completed, virtual machine will be shut down automatically, whether it's again based on where it is created, whether it is Azure VM, AWS machine, Google machine, or vSphere machine, right? The VM will be shut down here. Suppose this VM gets deleted from the endpoint and this IP address gets released from the IPAM tool. In this particular use case, we are using the Infoblox IPAM, right? So the virtual machine IP address gets released from here so that IP can be allocated to the upcoming provisioning. And then it will go ahead and remove the virtual machine from the SaltStack as well, because if machine entry is there, it is going to consume the licenses. So for the license purpose, it is going to remove the virtual machine from SaltStack as well. And then the server decommissioning process gets completed. Towards the end, it is going to create the CI, delete the CI entry from the CMDB. This CI entry gets created part of your provisioning, right? So once VM gets deleted, it is going to remove that entry from the CI database as well. And then this process gets completed here. Again, if it is rejected at the approval stage, nothing will happen, no workflow gets executed, and then flow completes here itself. Yeah, Randhir, please move on to next one. Okay, so these are some major objectives which customer has achieved using this integration and the automation. So the first one is faster time to market. So earlier, as Randhir mentioned, right? Earlier, when we check customer, how much time you are taking to deliver end-to-end virtual machine. So it was around a week. But with this integration and the automation, the end-to-end virtual machine deployment is around 5 to 6 hours. So approx 70 to 80% turnaround time by having this automation. Then we have automation, end-to-end automation for the VM lifecycle management, right? So we have already covered about the how we are provisioning the virtual machine, how we are decommissioning the virtual machine. Let's take a scenario: virtual machine has been created. Now that virtual machine needs to be reconfigured. Like we need to add some memory, CPU, storage, something like that, right? We need to create the snapshot. End user don't need to reach out to the admins. He can go ahead and log in into the ITSM portal, just select the virtual machine and perform those day two operations, right? We talked about VA remediation, we talked about patching. So everything can be done using the ITSM portal. He just need to select the virtual machine, and if he want to check whether any patches are available for this virtual machine or not, he can just go ahead and run that particular day two action, and that end user will then report, okay, these are the patches which are missing on this particular virtual machine, and then he can go ahead and apply from the same portal, right? Then flexibility. In terms of flexibility, so while deploying the virtual machine through portal, the end user will have option to select the different sizes, right? So based on his application requirement, he can go ahead and choose those sizes. Simplification. So all day one and day two operations to match the industry standard, right? So if by mistake he has created virtual machine with different configuration, right? But now he need to adjust those changes. So it's again on the fly. He don't need to worry about, he don't need to waste much of time, and he can achieve those industry standards. Next one is self-service portal. So self-service portal with scalability to expand to perspective of new cloud platform in the customer list. So again, nothing is manual. End user doesn't need to reach out to different teams for his list of tasks, right? So if it is manual VM provisioning, right? So first of all, he need to reach out to some cloud team or the vSphere team to provision the virtual machine. Then next to the patching team, VA remediation team. Let's say if there is Active Directory or DNS record needs to be created, then again, these are the individual tasks. But with this automation, everything is getting automated. No need to do anything manually. And then unified and automated governance. Since this is the policy-driven system, nothing we are doing as in manual stuff, right? So we are ensuring that everything is unified and automated governance. So there are less chance, or I would say there are no chance of the human error by introducing these automation and integrations. So these are the business objective. Then Randhir will take over, and he will give us the demo of how it is going to work end to end.
Yeah, Ratnesh, thank you. And thank you for giving the insight about the architecture and use cases and workflow. Thanks a lot. So let me move on the next slide.
Randhir,
Next slide
your
is-
voice is quite low.
Now it's good. I'm audible, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me jump inside my lab. So this is a unified portal like self-service portal. So you have to just give the URL to your customer and they will log in inside. If you are using the Aria Automation portal, if you have a service now, so we can integrate the service now, and you can get the similar feeling over there as well. So once customer will log in inside the portal, so it's a RBAC mechanism. So you can provide the privilege to the customer whether he want to see all the configuration and whether he want to see only the catalog. So mostly the enterprise, they give the catalog access to the customer to deploy the VM. So service broker is the one of the place where we publish the catalog. So when customer will log in, he will feel and he can see this portal and this page, and he can see only one catalog. So I said earlier, like compared to the VRS7 and other products, so you have to maintain them more and more catalog based on the your use cases and based on the cloud provider you have inside your organization. But Aria Automation and from the VR8, we have a cloud agnostic blueprint. And using the cloud agnostic blueprint, you can accommodate um, more and more hyperscaler and on-premises inside the one catalog. So customer will see this only one catalog, and when he will click on the request, he can see the request form like this. So you have to fill out the form like the similar way he is filling out the form for the cloud management team to deploy the VM manually. So similar way he has to fill out the form here, and it will go and automatically deploy everything for the customer. So you have to put the deployment name based on the application and based on his deployment. He has to be put the deployment name. Let me put here for demo. Okay, so here he has to be put the environment, which environment he want to deploy, whether he want to deploy the VM in production, non-production, UAT, staging, and wherever he want to deploy it. So, and it is coming from the underneath, you have segregated your environment over your hyperscaler and on-premises, or like a cluster and data center. So based on the your segregation underneath, the data will come here and it will populate here. Okay, so let's select the production, then landing zone, where he want to deploy, whether he want to deploy on the AWS and Azure, GCP and vSphere. Like let me take the one of the example is the Azure. So if we want to deploy the VM on the Azure, so form will get changed and the things will come what is the populated inside the Azure. Like if he will select the Azure, then he can see the all the subscription information. If he will select the AWS, then he can see the account ID and other information. And once he will select the GCP, then he can say the project ID and related information over here. So let me select on the Azure. So let me select the subscription. So based on the Azure, the user can see the subscription. So which subscription he belong to. So like I'm planning to deploy on the production. So let me select the prod subscription. So which location want to deploy? So suppose the subscription has the multiple location and it is diverse in the different location as well. So based on the subscription, user can see the location, which location you want to deploy. So again, it is all the things is coming from the underneath, irrespective of any hyperscaler. So it is not is a dummy. So whatever you have on your hyperscaler, it is coming and it is getting populated here. Okay, so he will select the location. Based on the location, he can see the AG group. Okay, ability zone. So which ability zone he want to deploy like AG. So like, let me find out from the one of them, like Southeast Asia one. So based on the AG, what are the virtual network is available there in the production environment. So he can see all the virtual network. This network is belong to the prod. If it is the test and others, then he can see the test and others. So this prod network has a multiple subnet. So whatever subnet is belong to this particular network, so it can be populated here. So I can select one of them. So based on the, then he will select the network where he want to deploy. So which operating system he want to deploy. So for the demo purpose, we accommodated Linux and Windows, but you can do the other operating system as well. You can onboard it and configure the other operating system. Aria Automation. So let me select the one of them, the Linux. So based on the Linux operating system, which version customer want to deploy and the unit you want to deploy. Suppose you have the multiple template like RHL 8, 7.9, RHL 8.4, and so forth. So whatever template you have in the underneath and on your hyperscaler, so customer can see those operating system version here, and based on his requirement, he will select the operating system version as well. And then he will select the size. So what are the size he want to deploy, like what size of the VM he want to be there. So based on the size, he will select the size. Again, it is all the things is coming from the underneath from here. So let me select all the small, and then whether he want to deploy the one VM or he want to deploy the multiple VM, like the similar configuration, he want to deploy the 10 VM, 5 VM, whatever. So he can select the server count here. Then he can select the he can write the his cost center and line of business. This is one of the use cases which we are trying to showcase here. For we are not doing the environment automation, but also we are doing the governance automation as well. Like if you remember, I said like earlier, the user is submitting the form, then cloud team, they're going back and asking whether you have approval or not, send a mail to your manager and finance team and get the approval from them over the email and attach the email inside the incident ticket. So here we are doing the governance automation as well. So when you put your cost center wherever you belong to, okay, so we integrated your Active Directory and your cost center tool like SAP tool and the other more tool. So mail will get triggered to your first line manager and your finance manager to approve your request. Okay. So based on your cost center and best line of business, it will trigger to them. So let me select one of the, let me select myself VMware. This is one of the cost center and I belong from the line of business here. So disk, extra disk, whether you want to extra disk inside your new VM, so you can attach the disk like I want to new 3 disk. So you can see the 3 disk option will highlighted here. So you can put the number as well, like you want 200 GB, 200 GB. So what is going to happen in background, it will attach the disk inside your VM and it will format the disk, provide the drive letter, and it will be available for the operating system and user to dump their data and create the database, whatever region they want to the extra disk, they can utilize for the extra disk. So let me make it 0 here for the so far. So you can add the extra disk as well. You can put the email address. Why we need the email address? This is one of the use cases, like you want to know who is the owner for this VM. So it will go and tag the VM inside your hyperscaler or on premises, and but also it is going to create the CI record in ServiceNow once VM deployment is completed. So it will stamp the owner email there as well for audit purpose and for identification purpose. So you can put the owner email. Let me put my email here. The DL group, we have one of the use cases where you want to give your team to get access inside your VM through their AD/ID. So wherever DL you are belong to in Active Directory, you have to put your DL name here. So whoever is belong to this DL, they will able to access this VM. So let me put my DL CSO. Then you can select the type of application, which type of application do you want to deploy on this VM. Okay, and it can be go to tagging as well for the identification, and this application type will go to your CI record as well. Once VM will deploy and it get created CI record inside ServiceNow, so it will tag there like this is a web server. And then what is the application you are going to use? Again, it is going to be used for tagging and for the CI record. It will create a CI entry inside the CI record like this is a application is running over this server. Then backup required. If you feel like this is a prod server and backup is required for this server, then you have to select the backup is required. Then what is going to do in background? It will be go and create the entry inside the backup and create the schedule as per the requirement. Okay, and as per the policy set up by the backup team. So you don't need to go back and ask backup team to put this server inside the backup. It will go and create the record everything for this server. So once customer will fill this form, he will just submit the form. Once form will get submitted, then PM will get created based on the input, like customer selected the Azure, then it will go the Azure portal and the particular subscription, a particular location and so forth, and it will create the VM there. Once VM will get created, how it will looks like, how you will come to know the VM is created. So once VM is created, you can see over the portal here, yes, it is created. And if you go here, then you will see here is the created successful. So once VM is get created and it is used for the customer, and customer can use the VM, and he can, if you see here, IP address is there, host name is there. So based on the, and once VM is get created, all the information and all the record will send over the email. Okay, so based on the record, customer will go and log in inside the VM, and he will install his application and he will start using and putting the server inside the production. So once this is a day one action, okay, where we don't need the IT team, no IT, customer itself can be do. But earlier we saw there the couple of dependency for day two action as well. The customer create the day one VM, but what about the day two? So we have a day 2 as well. We automated the day 2 as well. We have a couple of use cases for the day 2, but we have accommodated the best use cases inside this demo. But based on the customer requirement and use cases, we can develop custom use cases for the customer as well. So this is a day 2 action. If you see here, we have adding the disk and compliance scan and creating the snapshot and power off, power on, resize and shut down, suspend the VM and validating the scan. So those are the day 2 action. Customer itself can do it through this portal. And if you want to put your governance, like you want to restrict the customer, like customer cannot add the disk without approval. So you can put the governance as well for the day 2. So whenever customer asking for the new disk, it will go for approval, like first approval for IT team and second approval for their manager and third approval for their finance team. Based on the use cases, you can put the governance in background for the day 2. But I want to talk on the couple of topic here. This is 2 major things which we created for the enterprise for the compliance scan. So if you remember the earlier slide, I talked about the compliance scan. So what is happening? Suppose you have a server and it is running since a year and it is working fine, but suddenly the compliance team come to you and saying, your server is not compliant. Either you have to shut down or either you have to remediate immediately because as per the CIS benchmark, it is not compliant and it can be compromised anytime. So we will not allow you to power on the server. So in the past, it's taking a lot of time to talking to the team and getting remediate the server and make it compliant. So we automated this one. You don't need to, once you will get the alert from the compliance team, whatever tool you're using, like Qualys, either you're using the Salt and Qualys, whatever. So you can get the alert. So you have to go here on the portal and you have to see. If you want to have only report, then you have to just click and submit the request. Then you will get the report and you will see whether your server is compliant or not and whatever the compliance is pending there. And you want to remediate as per your CIS benchmark. Definitely the compliance team, they follow the CIS benchmark. Okay. So based on the compliance team, we create the CIS benchmark inside in Salt tool. So you have to just click and do the remediation. Okay, once you click this one, what is going to happen in background? Our Salt is going to scan your VMs and see if there is any compliant report, if in the compliance and anything compromised there. It will go and remediate himself. Okay, you no need to ask anyone. It will remediate and it will send the compliant report to the owner, like your server is compliant, and this report can be sent to the compliance team. Not only for the compliance, sometimes you will get the alert from your patching team, your server is not patched properly. And there are a couple of missing patches there and you have to remediate. Either you have the vice versa, you got the mail like from the compliant team, your server is not patched and you have to patch it immediately. Then you have to go back to the patching team and ask patching team to patch your server. So they're the error prone as well, like patching team, they are making mistake and based on the slot and so forth. So, and it's taking a lot of time, like patching team is always busy to do the other server patching as well, and they have the schedule to do the patching. So what you have to do, we done the patching automation as well. So customer has to go here and just click on the validation scan. What is going to happen? So either you have 10M SCCM or either you are going to use the SaltStack from the R side. Okay, so it is going to be first it is going to scan and see how many patches is missing. If you want to only have a report, you no need to click the remediation. If you want to have a report and also remediate the server, whatever patching is missing, just you have to click here and you have to submit the request. So it will go inside and it will pull the report, and based on the missing patches, it will download and patch your environment. This is a day 2 action. So that is the day 2 action we have automated. There's other more use cases based on the customer requirement and their use cases we are trying to accommodate. But this is those major use cases which is taking a lot of time to get it complete. So that's a demo from our side. If you need more information, you can connect with me and Ratnesh offline, and we are happy to answer all the questions about the demo and how the environment looks like. So
Yeah,
let me move on.
Thanks, Randy. Yeah.
So let me move on. The next slide is the question answer. This is the open call for you guys. And if you have any question, just unmute yourself and ask. We are trying to answer it. Otherwise, we will try to write a mail to you if we don't have an answer right now. So we will try to check with our product team and engineering team and reply back to you guys.
Yeah, thanks Randhir and Ratnesh for giving this wonderful session, and it was really a need of ours for every customer. In fact, that recently we worked with one of the customer and found that these use cases that you described and VMware Aria multi-cloud solutions is really useful for everyone. So team, anyone has any question, please raise your hand or you can ask in Q&A section. Or if you want to directly speak with our speakers, you can raise your hand. I'll unmute you. I think Pratik has some question, right?
Yeah, just a quick one. First of all, thank you, Randhir and Ratnesh, for this wonderful session. It was quite interesting. So my question is regarding the workload migration. So when we are deploying VMs, let's say a workload using VMware Aria and choosing the landing zone, let's say Azure or AWS, what if I have to bring that workload back to on-prem? Is it seamless or we experience any issues there? Because sometimes we see that Azure or AWS they are running like N+1 and on-prem sometimes lags and it's sitting somewhere like N-1 or N. So some of the attributes doesn't match between on-prem and the multi-cloud environment. So how's that workload migration works with Aria?
So Pratik here, so whatever you're talking about, I believe you're talking about the workload migration here. So for the workload migration, we have a SCX tool. So we are using the SCX tool, but here we are not talking about the SCX tool. We are talking about your existing VM, like your workload, whatever workload you have in the particular hyperscaler. Okay, so we are onboarding those workload inside our Aria automation to do the day 2 activity. So your question, I got to know your question, but yes, we are coming up with the next session where we are going to talk about more about the SCX.
Okay. No, so basically, so if let's say using Aria, I have some of my workloads sitting in one of the multi-cloud environment, let's say Azure, and now the requirement here is to bring that just let's say 1 or 2 VMs back to on-prem. Is it something can be done using Aria, or do I need SCX for that?
No, so Pratik, Aria is basically automation tool. For migration, you need to use the HCX tool, which is outside of Aria suite of products.
Got it. All right.
But
thank you.
Pratik, you can do the scale in and scale out through the automation. Like if you want to bring using the XCX tool, but you need to have the XCX tool in the underneath, and then you can use the Aria automation for the automation. Like whenever you want, based on your requirement, you can move the VM here and there through the automation.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation.
You're welcome, Pratik. Any question, team? We are happy to answer.
I think we don't have any more questions. So team, anyone has any query or any feedback related to this session, you can send an email to delhi@vmug.com, or you can reach out Randhir and Ratnesh over the LinkedIn or Twitter profile. So thanks once again, Randhir, Ratnesh, for giving your precious time to our community. Thanks, Sahil, Pratik, for joining the session and sharing your valuable feedbacks and valuable time. And our next session is planned for 29th of September, hopefully, and I'll be communicating to everyone very soon. So thanks once again. Thank you.